Welcome into Daily Faceoff Live, your go-to source for everything hockey. Live every weekday at noon Eastern.
Welcome in. It's Tuesday, March 21st. I'm Tyler Yaremchuk. He is our Daily Faceoff analyst, Mike McKenna, and this is Daily Faceoff Live, streaming to you live on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you're in there, if you're in the chat right now live, drop us an inbox question for later in the show as well. We're going to get to that in about 20 minutes. We're going to have Jason Gregor stop by to talk some Edmonton Oilers, but there's a lot for us to get to today, Mike. Another really interesting night in the NHL last night.
It was no surprise. It just keeps on rolling. You get closer to playoff time, Tyler, and wild stuff's happening. We got a couple of those topics to hit on here in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, so let's throw 2 minutes and 30 seconds up on the clock and jump right into it. We talked yesterday on the show about the amount of teams on the Sunday slate that put up 7 goals or more and how crazy that was. Well, the LA Kings, they got in on the fun as well, popping home 8 against the Calgary Flames, 4 in the first period, as well as Jacob Markstrom was chased from the crease eventually after allowing 6 of those 8 goals. The LA Kings, Mike, are starting to look like an absolute wagon. Are you prepared to maybe call them the best team in the Pacific Division?
Well, are they the best team in the NHL right now? I think it's worth asking that. When you look back to January 21st, Tyler, who's the best team based on record? It's the Los Angeles Kings. 16-4-4. Okay, like it doesn't lie. I understand. I don't care how bad you want to call the Western Conference of the NHL. Like it's not bad. You're still facing NHL teams, and since the trade deadline, they've only been better. They haven't lost since then. 6-0-2. Gavrikov, they picked him up at the deadline. 4 points plus 7-9 games. Korpisalo, he's 3-0-1 to the .921 save percentage. Like the stats are there, but the intangibles to this is that the Los Angeles Kings defend, Tyler. Like that's core to them. They're still winning with Copley and net as well. And look at their top 2 centermen, Kopitar and Danault. Name a 1-2 punch in the NHL that's better than those two in 200-foot players. Yeah. Okay, centermen, right? Defensively and offensively. And here's the intangible that I've loved lately, Tyler. Quentin Byfield. Okay, he's a centerman, right? Well, They switched him over to play wing. He's up because Kevin Fiala's been out for the last 5 games. And Byfield's producing. He's got 8 assists in 10 games. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. This team is deep, Tyler. They're running out defense at top 6 D. They even have D out of the lineup right now. Durzi's out of the lineup. So it allows Gavrikov to play top 4. Maybe he slides back a little bit when Durzi comes in. But this team can defend. They can score. They're really balanced, Tyler. They could be the dark horse out of the West.
Yeah, they very well could be. And I was just looking in the chat. We have some Oilers fans saying, they're scared of the LA Kings come playoff time. And you absolutely should be. Whoever gets them in round 1, I think should be sitting there going, boy, it could be a quick exit for us because they look so solid. And the other thing as well, and this hurt them last year, they're healthy right now. And if that stays the same way, man, I could easily see this Kings team going on a deep run. Quickly, before we move on, let's flip this. The Calgary Flames had a chance to move within 2 points of the final playoff spot in the Western Conference, and they fell flat on their face, Mike. That is a real gut punch for Calgary.
It is, and this is just on brand for Calgary. It's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps back. They've been mid all season, and they've just stayed mid. Like they can't get a run together when they need it. So it's going to be tough sledding. 11 games left for Calgary, and they're too far out, and they're 4 points out. And Nashville still has games in hand on even Calgary. Yeah. So we'll see, dude. It's going to take the Jets or somebody else falling out, I think, for Calgary to have a shot.
Nashville in action tonight, as well as we have another interesting slate in the NHL. But sticking with last night's hockey games, Dylan Ferguson plays spoiler. It was his second career appearance in the NHL, his first career start, but his first appearance was actually back on November 14th of 2017 when it was kind of an emergency situation. He got called up from Kamloops. That was right when the Vegas Golden Knights were dealing with all their goalie issues that first year in the league, but he had a relief appearance in Edmonton. He only faced 2 shots. He was only in the net for about 9 minutes. Well, 1,953 days later, Dylan Ferguson makes his return to an NHL crease. And how about this stat line? Stopping 48 of 49, 9 high danger saves. I love that stat as well. He was lights out in the Senators' win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mike McKenna, you're a former NHL goalie. Take it away. Give some love to Dylan Ferguson.
Oh, this is amazing, man. And I kind of feel some parallels to my own career. I had a cameo appearance before I made my first start, and it was against the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. And I do appreciate that the Senators, for the most part, kept shots to the outside for Ferguson, but like he's had to grind, man. Like he spent 3 years in the Vegas Golden Knights organization and played 16 AHL games. That's it. Okay. For whatever reason, whether you're hurt, up, down, doesn't matter. That's what he got. So this year he's cast off and he ends up going to the Marlies, plays 5 games in the A. Then he ends up in Belleville, plays 6 games lights out, 5-1 for them. And he signs another NHL contract on March 2nd. He didn't start the year on one, Tyler. And, this is a guy who did win an ECHL championship 2 years ago at the Fort Wayne Comets. Okay. He's produced. He's just needed the right opportunity. I think he's gotten that a little bit in Belleville. We'll see how it continues, but it was right place, right time. I'll tell you this little story. When I got to Vegas, I guess 4 years ago now, I was right out of the game. I needed a goalie union dinner. So I called up the minor league goalies of the Golden Knights, Garrett Sparks, Dylan Ferguson, Malcolm Subban. We all went for dinner. All 4 of us are out of the Vegas Golden Knights organization now. But you look at Ferguson, and he was really young then. He was just 20, and really nice kid. And I'm really happy for him because you don't always get second chances. And good on the Ottawa Senators for giving that to him, right? He played his way into this. Yeah. Even in a short span, Tyler, he deserved this opportunity, and he's going to get more of it.
Yeah. What a night that was. And now his name kind of up there in the history books as well when you look at number of saves in a first career start, right behind Manny Legacy and Laurent Brossoit in Edmonton. Kevin Mandolese, another Senators goalie who made an appearance this year and is up on that list as well. Again, we'll flip this topic very quickly. The Pittsburgh Penguins, Mike, now 4-5-1 in their last 10. They are barely hanging on in that Eastern Conference race, which is crazy because a week ago they looked comfortably in. Are you concerned? Scale of 1 to 10, how concerned should the Penguins be?
I'm definitely at a 7, 6.5, 7 now. They have a tendency to be streaky, Tyler. And if they can get on a streak again, I feel better about it. But it's starting to slip. It's happening too often there.
Yeah. Worrying times in Pittsburgh. If you opened up Twitter today at all as a hockey fan, then you would see a lot of just really calm, measured reactions to the news that the NHL has its new jersey partner. The deal with Adidas runs out at the end of this current season, and the league announcing today they've agreed with Fanatics on a 10-year deal to be the exclusive on-ice uniform and supplier of authentic jerseys, both retail and on ice as well. This was met with a lot of pushback. Fans are not pleased about this at all. The general sense around Fanatics, and this has been the case since they've been kind of partnered with Adidas, they make the cheaper alternatives for the jerseys. The quality is not great as well. Some people have pushed back on the idea that Fanatics has, in a way, started to monopolize the NHL apparel game, and that's probably going to take a bigger step, or this leads to a bigger step towards that with a 10-year deal now. People are not happy. The PR of this is not good at all. And when you look at other major sports leagues, Mike, MLB, NFL, NBA, and they all have Nike and Jordan and all these big brands supplying their merchandise, for the NHL to have Fanatics, I can't tell if I'm making too big of a deal out of this or if this really is kind of like a minor league moment for the NHL.
I don't think you are at all, Tyler, because this is one of those like under the cover surface topics that to me is a big deal. Like Fanatics. Okay, like that's not the same as Nike, right? It just seems Mickey Mouse. It seems minor league. There's no way around it. And I think about the players who are probably going Fanatics. What? Don't they make replica jerseys? Like, I guarantee the players are thinking, like, these things better be decent quality. Like the Adidas jerseys, they were a step forward. They're breathable. They're flexible. They work pretty well. Mixed bag previous to that, but at least Adidas carried some weight. And I think more than anything, Tyler, no matter how much money the NHL is bringing in terms of revenue, it does show that it's still, at least in the United States and across the board, a second-tier niche sport. Because this is what this means. You didn't get a bid from Nike or Reebok or Adidas or any of these big companies. You had to go to the second class, which is a replica apparel company, and you hope it works out. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be eventually fine, but man, sure wasn't going over well on social today, and I don't think it will amongst a lot of fans or players.
No, and I did want to highlight this tweet from Vincent Duquette of TVA, and he did say the jerseys will be made by SP Apparel near Montreal, same company that made the previous jerseys for Adidas and Reebok, so the quality should remain the same for the players, that is. But I think what a lot of fans are kind of upset about is this going to hurt their ability to get the same jersey the players are wearing? Is what they buy in a store going to be a cheaper quality? And the other thing, like, yes, Fanatics is a big player in the sports merchandise, sports apparel game, but there was something about when it's Nike or when it's Adidas, you're on their website, right? You're getting that push from their branding, and you lose that a little bit now, right?
Yep, you're bang on, man. That's right. That's why, like in racing, right? An engine supplier needs to be Chevy or Ford. It can't just be some guy in his backroom closet. Hey, I've got a Cosworth engine. Who knows who Cosworth is? You know who Ford is. It's similar to that, Tyler.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up with a little awards talk here. Less than a month to go in the regular season. But what's interesting, and I'm a guy who pays attention to the betting odds, courtesy of our friends at Pointsbet Canada, the Hart Trophy, not a race. Vezina, not a race. The Calder, not really a race. The spot where the odds are the closest is actually in the Norris. Erik Karlsson scored twice last night against the Edmonton Oilers. He is clearly at the top of this thing. He's running away with the defensive scoring race as well. I'll ask you a two-parter here, Mike McKenna. Is Erik Karlsson at the top of your ballot? Is he a lock to win this award? And who else do you think is kind of in contention?
Here's the hard part. I can't figure out who's at the top of my ballot. I don't think I'm alone with this, Tyler. Like, you can't deny what Karlsson's done. 87 points in 71 games. He's scoring on a team that's terrible. Being dash 14 is not really even that bad, but he's kind of the only guy in San Jose. I totally appreciate everything he's done, but it's still hard to win a Norris if you're not on a playoff team. I understand Adam Fox did it recently with the Rangers. I think Karlsson's going to win the Norris, but I think this vote's going to be really close. That's my takeaway from it, because when you go beyond him, look at our board here. Like, there's a half dozen guys that are going to get a lot of votes here, man. Josh Morrissey's going to get votes. Dougie Hamilton will as well. You can even go on people that aren't on this. I bet Charlie McAvoy gets a bunch of votes. Okay. So I don't know, Tyler. I just think that Karlsson, if you ask me, is the most valuable defenseman to his team, but is he the most well-rounded? I don't even have an answer for that, right? Is it Adam Fox? Is it Cale Makar? I think those are still the two best in the game, but I don't think they're having years that are going to take the award home this year. Maybe Makar, but he's missed hockey this season. I don't know, Tyler. What about you?
Yeah, I'm torn on this one as well. Like, I'm a big fan of what Josh Morrissey has been able to do in Winnipeg, because you talk about that kind of two-way game, and Cale Makar's missed hockey. I think that probably takes him out of it. When I look at awards like the Norris and the Hart and even the Calder to some extent, I do put value on games played and kind of playing the full season, because it is just a season-long award. I think there's more value in that. Adam Fox has been electric as always, but he might be the product of, okay, we know what Adam Fox is all about. Josh Morrissey's name has a bit more sizzle in this debate, because he kind of took a big step to get to this level, and it feels like, we always value that a little bit more in these awards. I feel like Karlsson will still end up winning it though, Mike, just because a lot of people, even if they, like you say, okay, he wasn't great, he maybe isn't the best in his own end, I don't feel comfortable putting him at 1 for this defenseman award, but I'll put him at number 2, and then the top could be split between the Makars and the Morrisseys. Like, Karlsson might just win because of how people structure their ballots.
I agree with you. Like I say, I think he takes it home, and realistically, he probably should. We're trying to find excuses for Karlsson not to win, but I think this vote's going to be close. I cannot wait to see the full ballots on this one, Tyler. This will be, of all the major awards, this is the one I'm going to fine-tooth comb, because I think it'll say a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are with you. They got Ullmark, they got Beniers, they got McDavid written in Sharpie ink at number 1 for the other ones, but this Norris one maybe still up in the air. We started the show talking about the Kings and the Flames a bit. Let's keep the Pacific Division talk rolling with Jason Gregor from Oilers Nation and TSN 1260. The All 32 here on Daily Faceoff Live. Jason Gregor is also one half of the DFO Rundown podcast. New episodes every Monday and Thursday. Jason, Oilers GM Ken Holland made a big splash right around the deadline, going out and getting Mattias Ekholm, and the early returns have been pretty good. Take us through the impact Ekholm has had on the Oilers blue line.
Well, I think the biggest surprise impact is, did anybody expect him to be almost a point-a-game player? Probably not. Like, I don't care. His second goal last night, a clapper from under or below the dots, top shelf. Are you kidding me? That's one of the greatest goals I've seen in a long time. Like, Ekholm has been a force defensively, is exactly what they wanted, but I think his offensive impact, and I always thought he was a good passer. He said it himself last night, hey, I've only had that's my second 2-goal game, so don't expect a lot of goals. But you know what? Both those goals were nice goals, in tight, down low. I think he's added a lot to this team. But him and Darnell Nurse, you can have two of those guys on the ice for basically 45, 47 minutes of the game if you like, and that's a huge advantage for Edmonton. It makes their defense core infinitely bigger, which is what they needed. He's been a massive addition. Like, I don't think the point production is going to continue long term, but it's been great early on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jason. Like, I watched Ekholm a lot, especially being around the Central, and he shoots the puck better than people realize. It's just that Yossi was always the guy with the puck on his blade in Nashville. So an underrated part of his game that I think we're seeing. I want to talk about Nick Bjugstad a bit, though, somebody who I'm a big fan of, played with him for a while in the Florida organization. And he was picked up at the deadline by the Oilers, and the results have been pretty good. 3 goals and an assist in the 9 games he's played, but he's also really factored high on the PK for the Oilers, which I like. So I'm curious how, one, you assess Bjugstad, but also where you see him slotting and how that bottom 6 of the Oilers starts to shake out heading towards the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, the other thing that Bjugstad's really added is key face-off wins in the defensive zone late in games. Like that, like people will look at overall face-off percentage, and sure, I like to focus in on timely draws. And man, like that Boston game they won on the road, he beat Bergeron twice in the last minute. Like Bergeron's one of the best face-off guys in the league. So, Bjugstad, he was scoring well in Arizona, and all of his numbers, his underlying numbers in Arizona were good on a bad team. And so that's just continued in Edmonton. I think it really solidifies their third line center spots. And when Ryan McLeod comes back, you know what? If he's your fourth line center, you got pretty good depth. He'll obviously be on the penalty kill. And Edmonton, you need guys that kill penalties in your bottom 6. And, when you put Bjugstad and you throw in Nurse and Ekholm and Desharnais out there, like the reach between the 4 of them is ridiculous. Now, I know there's only 2 of the defensemen on at once, but Bjugstad's added a lot because it's going to take some pressure off of Draisaitl not having to take as many faceoffs as he does. And I think that can help guys in playoff times. Faceoffs are taxing, Mike, as you know. Like when you get into key draws, man, guys are really exerting themselves. So I think that's a small thing he's added. But, the scoring depth for Edmonton has been unreal since January 1st. Like the depth guys have been great, and it continued again last night.
Jason, when you look at last year and the way they made that run to the Western Conference Finals, I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl produced like crazy in the playoffs. Evander Kane was a goal per game, but you mentioned the scoring depth this year. That combined with the presence of Ekholm, would you say the Oilers are better built for a deep run this year than maybe they even were last year?
Oh, I think no question. Edmonton's a much deeper team than they were last year. Also, if Draisaitl and Nurse are healthy, that in itself is going to make them better. And I was a huge fan of Duncan Keith. His career is a Hall of Famer. But Ekholm this year in the playoffs, I think it has a better chance to be more impactful. Evan Bouchard's a year older. The one issue still is, the third pair right defense, whether it's Broberg or Desharnais, you got some inexperience there. So that is a concern. But overall, like Mattias Janmark has added lots to this team. Clint Kostin, specifically a role of a physical player, brings a lot of energy. I'm not sold that he'll 100% be in the lineup every night, though, come playoff time. And that's a good problem to have for Edmonton. But I think their overall depth on this team is better. And I think the minutes that you're going to see in the playoffs from the bottom 6 this year is going to be higher, which means that you won't have to tax your top 5 forwards as much as they did last year.
Quickly, before we let you go, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit on the Pacific Division. There have only been 3 teams in the NHL who have accumulated 16 points in the month of March. It's the Oilers, the Golden Knights, and the LA Kings. It feels like all those teams are starting to play some really good hockey. Is there one that maybe stands out from the pack, maybe in a positive or a negative way, like one that you view as above the rest, or maybe one that's below the other 2?
Well, I still have concerns about who's going to be the goaltender in Vegas, right? They got a lot of options, but who's going to stay healthy? I'm not sold on Jonathan Quick. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm just not sold that Quick's going to necessarily be the answer for them. Edmonton has the high-end offense that none of those teams can match, but they're not as sound defensively as those teams. Stuart Skinner come playoff time is going to be the guy for the Oilers. I think that's abundantly clear. Last night just put another exclamation point on that, but there's no easy out there. I do think finishing first will be a big advantage because that team's not going to have to face the other two. And that in itself might be the big one, because I'd take Seattle all day. If I'm the Pacific team, I don't think any of these teams are going to rest guys down the stretch, because finishing first means you avoid those other two. And I think that's a huge advantage.
Great stuff, Gregor. Can't wait for the next episode of The Rundown, which will drop next Monday. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Anytime, boys. Have a good one.
Moving along to our daily face-off inbox question, hashtag AskDFO. Mike, we were talking about jerseys in that third segment and Fanatics getting it. So this is a bit of a throwback question. What was the first jersey you got as a kid, or maybe a favorite jersey you had as a kid?
Oh, this is a very fan-oriented question, right? What replica jersey did you have? I only had one my whole life. And I'm looking around in my office here to see if I have it, and I don't think I do, and I should. And it was a Pat Blonsky replica jersey from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And ironically enough, when I ended up suiting up for the Tampa Bay Lightning, my first NHL team, I got to meet Pat Jablonski. So that was pretty cool. I just wish I would have had the jersey there so he could have signed it. It's like a kid size large. I don't think I can get it anymore.
I love that. For me, I think the first jersey I ever got was that, and they brought it back this year, but that Oilers oil drop mechanical thing. And I remember loving that one.
I hated that one. I'm
glad you liked it. I don't love the one they brought back this year either, but I remember that was the first jersey I had as a kid. Let's move along to our daily bets for the day, courtesy of our friends at Pointsbet Canada. Up 1.3 units yesterday. The strategy worked. I took the Oilers and the Panthers on the puck line. Panthers hit at a nice plus 135. And then I had that hedge with the Oilers-Panthers money line parlay at even money. That made up for the Oilers' loss. So profit yesterday. Looking to roll that into some success tonight, starting with a matchup between the Nashville Predators and the Buffalo Sabres. Listen, I just don't understand why the Predators are dogs in this hockey game. Nashville has more to play for in this one. They're trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. And listen, they haven't been a great road team this year. They're 17-18 straight up. But Buffalo has been a horrible home bet this season. 13-22 on the money line on home ice. They've also won just twice in their last 10, and at least the Predators are 500 in their last 10. So I love going with Nashville. They should be starting Saros tonight. Road dogs plus 135. Give me that all day. My second bet is Columbus taking on Washington. The over feels like a great spot. The payout's minus 115, which I like as well, but I feel like this line should be at 7, not at 6.5. Columbus has given up 7 goals in back-to-back games, not total. They have allowed 7 goals in back-to-back games. They've allowed at least 4 goals in 8 straight. They cannot keep the puck out of their net. The Capitals are going with Charlie Lindgren, who's allowed 9 goals in his last 2 games. I think we're going to get a lot of offense. The over has hit in 4 straight for the Capitals as well. So the over 6.5 between Columbus and Washington. Also taking a stab on the Tarasenko shot prop at plus 125 tonight. So 3 plays tonight. Nashville money line over between Columbus and Washington, and the Tarasenko shot prop. And with that, Mike, we wrap up the show with a little garbage time. What do you got?
You know what? I don't like seeing players endanger others that shouldn't be around it. Okay. And this comes from Sunday night, and it's the Blues game where they're playing against the Jets, and Torrey Krug just went bananas, man. And the ironic part, it was kids' night. Okay. So imagine having your kid in the building and watch you throw a tantrum in the box like this. So Krug takes a double minor in the first period, 13 minutes in. The Blues are up 1-0. Takes a double minor, gets 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike, gets to 10. Then he gets kicked out for doing this. Now, here's the thing, man. My dad's an off-ice official, and he sits in that box sometimes. I know those guys that are in there. And you've got guys in there in their upper 70s. Like, if that stick breaks, Tyler, and goes flying back, who knows who it hits or what damage it does. It's reckless. It's totally reckless. And I understand heat of the moment. Like, I'm not saying, like, Krug's a bad guy or anything. Like, I love that he's emotional and passionate, but this is not good. Like, you don't want to hurt somebody in this type of scenario. do it all you want on the ice. Do it behind closed doors. Do it in the locker room. But don't endanger others. That's my main point. And like, I had people come at me on Twitter with this, and I honestly don't care, because if my dad was in that box and he got hurt by that stick, dude, I'd be absolutely beside myself. And you could easily see it happening. Like, Tyler, you know how easy these sticks break if you're smashing them around like that. So this is a bad look for a player, and it's dangerous. Like I say, man, I'm all for emotion and passion in the game, but don't do it with innocent bystanders around, because those guys have to be in the box. Like, they got to do a job there, and you don't want to put them in harm's way.
And also, I mean, you're already in the box, man. It's not like the ref is going to see you freak out and be like, you know what? Tori's right. He doesn't deserve the double minor. You're right. I think it's childish is all it is. And I agree. I love the passion, but there's certainly a better time and a place for it. So well said by you, Mike McKenna. Shout out to everyone in the YouTube chat who is talking about their jerseys and things like that. Very active today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on the Daily Faceoff YouTube before you head out. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Myself and Mike McKenna will be right back here tomorrow at noon Eastern time to talk about what should be an exciting night in the NHL. So we'll see you then. Keep it locked on dailyfaceoff.com in the meantime, and enjoy the games tonight.
Thanks for tuning in to Daily Faceoff Live. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.